point did she become the clone?
Gale and Katniss are actually cousins.
That screws with my couple, and I'm not allowing it.
Cinna is actually BT's child.
2 raging book nerds, 14 years of friendship, and 1 burning question.
If Katniss Everdeen posted on Reddit, would she be the arsehole?
Welcome to Once Upon a Red Flag. This season, we're stepping into Panem, where every tribute, tyrant, and mentor gets their day in the Am I the Asshole courtroom.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Rachel.
And join us while we read between the red flags and break down the Hunger Games, one questionable decision at a time.
Welcome to our first bonus episode ever. Not just of the season, ever. Let's see how this goes.
I'm like very proud that we've made it this far. We've made it to a season break.
The fact that this time last year, because we are in 2026 at the time of filming this, time last year, this was just like a little idea, little like nugget in our brains of do we do this at the start of 2025. And now, the start of 2026, we have currently launched a full 4 episodes.
I mean,
full
much.
Month worth.
Like, I know, like, we've done it, but, like, so much effort.
Left to do.
And, well, yeah, but also so much effort and time has gone into this. So to get this far, like, it's just, it's really big. But I also think for these mid-season break episodes, they might be a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah, there's a little bit more chill. Because we're not talking about as much, I guess, like intense theory with like referencing that we've planned. They are a bit less scripted, a bit more like free flowy. So
just
grab
a cuppa like me, sit down, listen to the chat, tell us what you think.
Settle in. Yeah. I'm hoping people like listen to these because I had so much fun researching for these episodes. I don't know if you felt the same, but I had so much fun doing this.
I didn't realise that half these theories were even out there, and now that I've heard them, some of them I'm like fully convinced, and some of them I'm like, how the hell have you got there? So I'm interested also to see and like hear other people's opinions, because I know there's probably a lot of theories I didn't stumble upon as well, and I would like to hear the gossip. Please.
There's some theories that I stumbled upon when researching for this, where I just sort of went, oh, yeah, we've already proved that, and then carried on. There was quite a few of them where I was like, oh, yeah, I thought that was canon. It is to my head. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
So before we like really get into this, like I want to preface this particular episode with the fact that this is the first time I have actually gone out of my way to find fan theories when writing any episode notes, because every other theory I have presented so far is actually one I have thought of myself when reading the books, which is not to say that other people hadn't already also thought of those, because we're obviously working from like the same source text after all. Some of my theories are probably wilder than others, but like these on today's episodes I've seen in like a ton of different places during research, so they're quite popular ones maybe that we haven't thought of yet so far, or just we hadn't gone like that deep into it, or we went deep in another direction. So thank you Reddit and Ranker and Screen Rant for my research, and for listening to some of the, like the obvious theories as well as some of the more outlandish ones. There are some that I fully don't believe, and there are some that I'm like 100%. Yeah, nothing more to be said. So I think our first theory is one that you think is pretty wild, though.
So basically, one of the theories I stumbled across on good old Instagram is that Gale and Katniss are actually cousins.
Okay.
And this was a bit of a wild one, and I'm just throwing it into the mix just to be, a little bit silly. But we know Katniss and Gale have a lot in common aesthetically, right? They both obviously seem, they have the dark hair and the features, but they both also have really good hunting abilities. Even though Katniss, like her skills are obviously with the bow and arrow, and Gale's like his skill is with traps and etc.
Okay.
Which just eek how that goes into Mockingjay.
Okay.
And then obviously Katniss's features are very different to her younger sister Prim's. Like Prim has like a light blonde hair and fair features, whereas hers are dark and more rough around the edges, like Gale's. Now, okay, I want to say this. I'm not really convinced by this theory, if I'm being honest. But I'm just throwing it in there. Like, is there any chance? Could this be the case? Could these be the feelings Gale feels like they're familial love, not romantic love, rather than anything more? Like, I'm just interested to get your take and people's take on this, because I have seen it pop up like once or twice.
Kind of think this is just genetics.
Yeah.
I have sat through a high school biology class. This is just dominant and recessive genes at play. Yes. I mean, it's pure chance that Prim looks more like her mother than her father, and I think Suzanne Collins has probably written it that way because they physically mimic the appearance of the parent they are more like. So don't forget, like, Katniss has her dad's looks, but they hunt together, and Prim has her mum's looks, but they are both healers. And I think it's just a way of like highlighting the similarities to the parent and how like adrift that set Katniss when her dad died. I think they are cousins in the sense that your mum's best friend is your auntie, and her kids are your cousins. Like, I don't think they're actually like biologically related cousins. Because I also think they would know this, right?
I don't know if you would.
Because that would mean in what way are you saying cousins? Are you saying like distantly related? This is the question that I'm putting out to whoever this theory is, but also what would you think? Are they
like distantly related cousins? Like they don't know they're cousins, but at some point in familial history and background, they match up to be cousins. I think with generally like the theory.
I think they can be distantly related from like cousins probably about 10 times removed, because there has to have been some sort of population boom within family trees after the districts in the dark days.
I think the theory was they were more closely related than that. Like they weren't like See, I'm not convinced by it either, but I have seen it going around on Instagram a couple of times, so I thought I'd throw it in the mix.
You would expect with their families to have known, because that would, I'd argue then, because obviously Hazel and her mother and Katniss's mother definitely aren't related. So I guess the argument would be that their fathers were siblings, or like their fathers were like second cousins, or like cousins once removed. But then you would think they would know that, and you think it would be like a dude, Gale, I'm not getting with you, we're related. Like,
well, yeah, you would hope if they knew that would be the case. Yeah. Okay, moving on before that goes down too much of a route.
Get into the incest rabbit hole. Let's come back out of that one. Thank you very much.
The second theory I found, which I think we might have discussed briefly before, is that Foxface ate the poison berries on purpose.
Okay.
So it wasn't an accident like they make it out to be in the film. So now I know you've kind of already brought this theory up, and neither the book or the film really answers the question directly, other than the fact that in the film, Peter and Katniss believe that Foxface was following them and ate the berries that way. But we know that Foxface was incredibly smart. She's from District 5. She figured out the minefield for the couriers' supplies. Do we or do we not think she knew the berries were poisonous, and maybe knew that Kato or Katniss were going to be the more likely winners and took the more humane and less painful way out?
Now, I may have mentioned this before.
I think you might have briefly done, yeah.
I cannot remember where I fell. I talk a lot of shit on this podcast. I don't remember what I said before. But
I think you might have said that she did eat them on purpose.
I think I've proved myself wrong.
Theory. Yeah.
I think I've proved myself wrong now, because I think her figuring out the minefield around the cornucopia would be evidence that she doesn't know anything about foraging. Because why would you risk blowing yourself up if you did know what was poisonous and what wasn't? So if that wasn't your only source of getting food, like get into the cornucopia like pile, the stash with the minefield around it, if you had any other option, would you not take that other option? Because it must have taken her ages to watch the guy either burying the landmines themselves to know where he put them, or waiting for him to hop into the center to retrieve supplies, then hop back out to figure out where to step each time. And then you've also got to wait until the coast is clear and they've all gone before you can run in and do that. So unless you were certain that you would risk death, like 99% certain that you're going to die if you forage, because you have no idea what you're doing, why then would you take an even bigger risk out in the open, surrounded by pressure-sensitive bombs? Like, these careers can throw knives. They are well armed, and you would then be in the middle of the minefield where you can't just take off easily and run away. You can't just scarper in a straight line. You then have to hop your way out of it again, giving them more time to get you. Like, I think Katniss's justification for Foxface following them and then not questioning things that they were planning on eating themselves, I think that line holds. Like, I may have completely like gone against what I said earlier, which is the beauty of fictional podcasts. I don't need to stay in one place. But I just think it would be an even bigger risk. And then at that point, she can only follow people around because the cornucopia supplies are gone. I don't know what you thought about that specifically. Where did you lie? Has my thinking influenced how you feel?
I don't know. I think because part of that in my brain is kind of influenced by the film, which you might have mentioned earlier when we see like Foxface matching up all the like the plants and all that kind of thing. But I guess maybe I think it probably was more likely by accident than on purpose. But I know that that is quite a big theory that does circulate.
I think I can't sit here and tell you what this girl was thinking. I can't. I'm not in her head. But do I think it's a possibility? Sure. I think it would be a strange possibility. But I am told I'm quite a logical thinker. I do sort of go step by step, even sometimes off the deep end step by step. But you can usually follow my logical path somewhere. I think she could have done it. I think it could be that she was using the cornucopia just to put on a show, to prove to sponsors that she was trying to like be a good like candidate. Look, she's figured this out. Look at her put on a show. We'll sponsor her later on down the line. Like, it could be that. And then it could be that she could forage and then sort of went, oh shit, well, everyone's dead. It's me versus Kato. I'm not going to outwit these guys with the weapons. This is quick and easy. Because don't they say, like, it passes your lips and then you're dead. And that's it.
Basically,
you're done.
Yeah.
So it's a possibility. I think it would be a very strange one to do.
I guess, okay, so this is another theory. And this one, I'm inclined to kind of believe it. So basically, my third theory is that Cinna is actually BT's child. Okay, so just hear me out. This is a theory I'm actually more on board with than my other ones. We know later from Sunrise on the Reaping, which we will do episodes on, that BT had a son during the 50th Hunger Games. Not going to get into any spoilers for later episodes, but I anticipate during the 74th Hunger Games that Cinna was approx early 20s.
I feel like you're probably right with that estimate, early 20s, yeah.
This means he would have been born shortly after the second quarter quell. And do we think that if BT did have another son after that second quarter quell, my God, that's a tongue twister, that he wouldn't have made the decision to try and get him into a life of safety or hidden the birth so no more of his children would end in the games? Like, we know by the 75th games that BT has no more family, like most of the victors. I don't think it's too far-fetched to think that with BT's ties with the rebels in the capital, that he wouldn't have tried to get any future children to a safer life in the capital and not be seen as related to him because he knows, like, how much danger that brings.
Okay.
Thoughts?
Okay. I don't really know about this one, to be honest, because, like, okay, I'm going to pull it apart a little bit because I have a budding theory that Cinna's related to someone else.
Okay.
But I'm still like searching for evidence which may prove or disprove. So like I'm not gonna play. I want to put it close to my chest. Let's be honest for now.
Okay.
Just until I assess how wild and out there this theory is. But let's take Cinna out of this for a minute. I can see how if Beatty had another kid in the future, from future from the 50th,
Uh-huh.
I can see how he'd want to hide the birth of that kid. I can see how any victor would want to hide the birth of a child. Let's be honest. But we know that the Capitol punishes parents by hurting their kids, so it would make logical sense for that. I can see him trying to protect his family, but is there enough to link Beatty to Cinna specifically? Because a lot of that theory seemed to be about if Beatty had other kids, he'd protect them. Fantastic. Remember, that I'm 100% on board with. How are we linking Beatty to Cinna? Are we linking Beatty to Cinna through his love of like putting tech into the costumes for Katniss and Peter from like the tech districts? Because that's where Beatty's from, the tech, and that would make Cinna, I guess, have some sort of genetic predisposition to be good with tech.
Yeah,
and he does invent a lot, I guess, in terms of those flames that don't touch Katniss. He seems to be the only one who can manufacture that kind of costume. If we're linking them through the tech, I can see it. Maybe.
Yeah, kind of linking them through the tech that he puts into his outfits. Rebellious. They're kind of like what did we call them? Kind of like muted rebellious tendency.
Yeah.
Is the action of rebelling, but like right in your face kind of thing.
So I'd argue Beatty is a little bit more actively rebellious than.
But you have to imagine you got to remember that Cinna would be like half Beatty and half someone else. So would it be a little bit more muted? I don't really know anything about Beatty's wife.
And I guess how would you then get the birth of a child from Beatty's wife, effectively, right? Who I'm presuming his wife would have stayed in District 5. She wouldn't get to like tag along to Hunger Games related events, right? So how would Beatty have gotten his child out of District 5 into the Capitol without being seen? We know from, without going too much into Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, that's the one. The lengthy titles, these other two prequels, and I'm getting them confused in my head. Without going too much into Ballad, we do know that there was the potential of movement from some districts to the Capitol within reason, within industry, within I guess a way it would benefit the Capitol.
I think he could do it. I think with his ties to the kind of the rebellious, I think with his ties to the rebel movement, and obviously Plutarch, which we already know was kind of in place.
Yeah.
And they go to the Capitol every year. They kind of go on that train. He'll have like a prep team of people. Who's to say he did like one of those prep teams isn't kind of on board with the rebel plan, and they'll have supplies, they'll have boxes, they'll have like equipment. They may be able to hide a young child somehow. I'm pretty sure like it's been done in real life. Smuggling
it will
a child.
have been done in real life, yeah. I guess you'd have to have a reason because I don't think you'd be able to hide the birth of a child from the Capitol entirely. Like, someone must know somewhere. So I guess it's how would you explain the disappearance of the child?
It died.
I guess the
child died.
I guess it depends on how much we are thinking that the Capitol would be looking at Beatty, I suppose, and actions. Because if I had someone who was a potential rebel to cause problems, and all of a sudden they're telling me something happened that I don't think happened, then I'd want proof. I guess if I was Capitol.
We know Beatty gets punished by going back into the Court of Quell for the 75th Games. Like, he's done problems. But could it be could they be like, oh, well, your wife was pregnant and now the child's died. It's a little bit weird. We're still even more suspicious of you. Don't worry, Court of Quell will come around. We'll throw you in there and punish you that way. And we're pretty sure, like, they kill his wife anyway, don't they? Like, they kill his family.
Probably.
Like, he doesn't have anybody, I think, by the 75th Games.
I mean, it sounds on par for the Capitol. Do you know what I mean? It sounds like something they'd do.
So they probably could have known that he had done something, that the child probably is alive, but he's just saying it's dead, but they can't track the child because the child's already like in the Capitol, taken on by another family who are rebel sympathizers, all this kind of thing. Like, I think it is very doable, especially with BT, someone so smart. I think he could have figured it out.
Maybe. You might have convinced me to be a bit more on board with this, because I'm thinking about all the ways they could have done it now, and I'm going into like deep plot, like, can I get in Suzanne Collins's head to figure out what the actual story of this would be, and is it plausible? And it is plausible. It could be done. We are in a fictional world. Anything can be done in a fictional world, honestly. But I guess we do also know what from reading Ballad and Sunrise, we do know how some of these newer characters have been related back to people that we knew of from the original trilogy, and how they've cropped up again. I do 100% believe that Cinna is in some form meant to be district, but he is capital. Like, that has always been something that I have believed, because of his sympathies to District 12 specifically, because he requested 12 because of his quiet rebellion. I do not think that came from pure capital. I think it can do with some people. I'd be interested to know where it did. But I guess the other question would be, if Cinna is BT's child, does Cinna know this? Does he know his history, or is he just like completely in the dark? Sorry,
I'd be interested to know what the listeners think of this as well. So let us know whether you believe this theory, what your opinions on it are, whether you think he's district, or whether you just think he's capital and he just happens to have some sympathies for the district.
That was a meaty one.
I know. So moving on to the next theory. This is also me. If Gale was reaped for the 74th Hunger Games with Katniss, he would have either killed her to win or left her to die. So I think this is a spicy one. From our Gale episode, we know that Gale has a certain type of personality, right? Like, he's not only passive aggressive and sees Katniss as property because of all the time they've had together. We also know he has a soldier and rebellious attitude, but at the end of the day, he values his life, and he would have wanted to have got home for all his brothers and his mother. Like, he was looking after all of them, and he probably would have justified it to himself by thinking that he needs to get back to his family, but that he could also do a better job of looking after Katniss's family too, rather than Katniss. Like, he would have justified to himself that he had more value to everybody if he lived rather than her living. Like, we know he has no problem with killing people, not just from his creation of the bomb, which we will discuss in the next few episodes after this season break, but from the very start of the books, when he tells Katniss that the Hunger Games is just like hunting, and she's like, yeah, but not people, Gale. Not hunting people. I honestly don't think he would have had a problem. He would have justified it to himself in some way.
Yeah. This may be a spicy one, like you said, but I feel like this theory is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I have anything more to add to that, because I can just see it. I can just completely see it, because he really does not put Katniss first in any scenario that we have talked about so far on this podcast. He is a very, very selfish man.
So I guess, I'm interested in people's opinions. If you think, well, I'm already pretty convinced, but if you have a different opinion on this, please tell us why. I will need evidence, because otherwise I'll be very hard to convince. My remaining theory for this little extra mid-season break episode is that Annie Cresta is a clone, just like Lulu.
That's kind of a mini spoiler there for Sunrise, but let's be honest, that happens in the first couple chapters, so not that big a spoiler. Okay, so I tried to find more context online with this one, and I actually found someone on Reddit who was complaining about how after Sunrise on The Reaping, it seemed like every victor now has a fan theory around them, like trying to destroy the arena or something like that. So with that being said, I kind of don't want to add any context to this theory at all. And I want us to run with every single possibility that could make this true or false. Okay. So let's figure this out, because my initial question then would be to try and make sense of this and convince ourselves of this, if that's possible. At what point did she become the clone?
I think when she supposedly won and obviously
Mm-hmm.
the flood happened. She was the strongest swimmer. I think she actually drowned, and that she was
Oh.
replaced with a clone that looks like her because they didn't want to not have a winner.
Well, yeah, well, Katniss does say, like, that they have to always have a winner.
And then
So
obviously they killed off the cannibalistic dude, but that was kind of like for obvious reasons because he kind of traumatized the whole country. Like that apparently is like a step too far. But I feel like they would have replaced Annie Cresta because she wasn't really like that huge of a threat, right?
Yeah, so we don't think that she tried to do any harm or any damage that caused or anything. We don't think it was like they killed her off but couldn't, like, they killed her off purposely at all because of
I don't
anything
think
that
she
she did,
drowned.
but more like she was the surviving victor and they thought they could get her out in time when she won, and they didn't, and they couldn't fix her, and then they had to replace.
And
I
they
won't
couldn't,
talk
and then
about
they
Lulu specifically because I won't want to
yeah,
go too much into like what happened with her if anyone hasn't read it. But
and then they couldn't admit basically that they like the
they
victor
killed their
had
victor.
drowned. They had the victor had drowned. They couldn't like save her, so they basically just replaced her, and that's why she is the way she is.
Okay, I'm almost convinced. At what point then did Annie meet Finnick?
Wasn't Finnick her mentor, or was Annie Finnick's? Which way round is it? Hold on.
I thought Annie was
Google.
after.
Google. Google. Where the I want to know. Where is my Google? Sorry, Apple Safari. Hold on. We should know this, but I keep getting
I
it
want
like
to
the wrong
say
way
like
around.
quite quickly.
So apparently Finnick and Annie met in District 4, likely growing up together or training in the same system, but they didn't like obviously get romantic feelings for each other and get that deep bond formed until Annie's dramatic 70th Hunger Games, where Finnick, a previous victor, became her dedicated mentor. Okay, so Finnick was Annie's victor.
Okay. So surely
Annie's
he would
victor, Annie's
have
mentor.
surely he would have known then, right? Like, so Lulu is at this point what, 20 years previous, yeah?
Yeah.
Are we expecting the processes to have severely improved by then?
Yeah, I'd say 20. I'd say 20. Well, we see the flipping like arenas and those technologies have clearly improved quite a lot. So I think it'd be fair to say that their technology in cloning someone will have like significantly improved. And you got to remember, right? She's been through a really traumatic situation. She has, well, for all intents and purposes, drowned. She might have changes in features anyway from injuries. Like if there were slight differences, I don't think Finnick would completely realize. And obviously, she wasn't kind of full of PTSD, having kind of those emotional issues before the games, but she obviously does afterwards. So Finnick might just put that all to the games rather than to her being like cloned.
Being like a different. I guess it would depend on how you're cloning, because obviously with spoilers, that I am going to bring this up. Spoilers for Sunrise if you haven't read it yet.
Which you should.
But skip to the end of this episode otherwise, because cool, right, because Lulu's not actually a clone. Lulu is a different human being,
yes,
that has been made to think like hijack wise that she is someone called Lulu.
Yes, but they do
not that
call
she
her
responds to the name or anything like that.
I think she is called a clone for all intents and purposes though, isn't she?
She's called a clone, but she's not actually like a clone. So these people will never have any of the memories if they have been cloned in that sense. So are we saying that Annie is cloned, or are we saying that Annie is replaced by a lookalike?
Ooh.
Because in that case, if Annie is replaced entirely, because she would then have had memories with Finnick. Because in the same way that Haymitch knew Lulu and could immediately, obviously, like, he witnessed her death, but like immediately was like, this is not right. This will never convince anyone who actually knows the girl. Because
I think
that's my sticking point, is because Finnick would realise. Do we think that she gets hit on the head and gets amnesia and forgets everything about their relationship ever?
I think by the 70th Hunger Games, the technology is obviously improved. I think they would have been able to do something where they've taken someone else's body and made them look as close to Annie as they could through cosmetic surgery, and that they've somehow taken some sort of genetic or like something, all that stuff they take from the tributes before they go into the games, just as a failsafe this time, like in case something happens to the tributes. Like we know they take bits and they put them into mutts for them to have their eyes and their personalities and everything. I don't think it's too far-fetched to say they've taken Annie's personality and Annie's sense of being, and then they put that into the new girl who's been made to look physically like Annie. They put that into her, and that clashes still with the original girl's personality, which is also in there. So it's like two personalities and people fighting against each other and some weird sort of tech inside a body that's been made to look like Annie's.
Okay.
Pretty sure that's the plot of the film.
Probably is entirely that. I feel like I am still going to be on the fence with this. I'm not entirely convinced. Purely because if they could do that and convince the entire world that Annie is Annie and Annie's not a clone and Annie didn't die, then why would they keep Peter alive to screw with Katniss? Because in that case, surely it would have been easier just to kill Peter and then create a clone of Peter to manipulate Katniss.
That's true. Yeah. I guess.
Or are we saying now that Peter is a clone and hasn't been hijacked, but he's the clone? Because that's too far in my head. That's too far. That screws with my couple, and I'm not allowing it.
I'm like fully down such a rabbit hole now, because my brain can go there. My brain can like can justify that, but I guess it either go one way. Either like Annie is a clone, and that whole theory is correct, and therefore by proxy Peter and probably a lot of the other ones are as well. Or Annie is not a clone, she just has PTSD, she's just struggling for obvious reasons, and then everyone else is like not a clone. But I think it is a really interesting theory, and I'm intrigued to see what other people think now after
it's
my
it's an interesting theory. And then I've thought of something else, because obviously like we go down the rabbit hole and my brain connects dot to dot to dot, and the next dot my brain has connected this to is, okay, say Annie's a clone, say Annie's entirely a clone. You've obviously just said then like some of the others could be as well. Okay, well, if that's the case and Annie's a clone, could Annie be a test subject for if they could clone all the victors? Because then anyone who stepped out of line, you could then, in the same way that you have made the capital lapdogs out of districts 1 and 2 and 4, I guess, as the couriers, you could then kill off any victor who was a troublemaker, like Beatty, like Haymitch, like Katniss, and then create a clone of them if you had the right body parts. Dr. Gall would love this. But you could then create a body double to satisfy the Capitol's whims and what the Capitol wants while still quelling rebellion. And if that's the case, we're 20 years down the line from Lulu. We're in, Annie was what games? The 70th?
70th.
Then we're 4 or 5 years in. When were they going to plan on making clones of other people as well? Just someone needs to write this.
When they were perfected and they didn't seem emotionally confuzzled. I guess they hadn't perfected it with Annie, so that was like probably partly the problem.
Someone needs to write that fanfic. Someone needs to write that fanfic. There we go. We have birthed an idea to AO3. Have fun with it. We have 5 more theories. We have 5 more theories.
We're going to save them for the next episode in the break.
Yeah.
Just because we don't want these episodes to be as long as normal. And I feel like if we keep going, they're going to be just as long as normal. And it's not going to be much of a break.
Just as long as normal, and we basically just made ourselves 5 whole extra episodes to edit. So let's stop here and tune in next week.
Join us next Wednesday for more theories on this mid-season break. And if you guys have any theories we don't mention, please share them. And we just look forward to having you back next time. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to our podcast, and don't forget to let us know your thoughts on all of our potential assholes.
No matter what platform you're listening to us on, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, upvote and all that stuff.
If you like what we do and want to find out more, all of our platforms are listed in the description or show notes. We're a 2-person team, so any support or feedback is always greatly received.
Tune in next time to Once Upon a Red Flag. Can I get in Suzanne Collins' head to figure out what the actual story of this would be? And is it plausible? And it is plausible. It could be done. We are in a fictional world. Anything can be done in a fictional